Anuradha ma'am, good afternoon.
Yeah, hi Himani.
Anuradha ma'am, thank you for reminding me. For some reason, I got engaged in something and completely skipped my mind.
What?
Starting the meeting.
Okay.
I was
Just
thinking and I
yeah,
got
just
lost.
allow me to share screen.
Yes.
No, because suddenly my computer went into update mode.
Okay.
So then I wondered whether, is there a problem? I'm not able to get through, or what was happening.
No, I was working on something. I got so engrossed, I was reading something. So it just kept on going, and just slipped my mind.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Good afternoon. I am so sorry to keep everybody waiting there, but I am sure that won't happen again.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Can we make it full screen, full mode? I think you are in a mode where
it's not on full mode. Acha, theek hai. 1 second.
Good evening, everybody. Ma'am, you'll have to, I think, close the presentation and start once again.
Yeah. How's this?
Yes, perfect, ma'am. Perfect.
Okay, let me know when we can start.
Ma'am, I will just wait for maybe another minute because a lot of people are still joining in. And then just one more minute because we're already at 4. Yeah, hi, good evening, everybody. Meanwhile, as we allow a few more people to join in, so welcome to another session of the Commune. And since I was so engrossed in reading, I'm looking a little awkward today. So I'm going to continue without my camera on today. But yes, and I'm so glad and I'm so happy that I missed it. But all the teachers who've joined it, I've already crossed half a century and I already have more than 50 teachers here. So they all remembered and you were all waiting for me. And none of you even left saying ki, "Arey, aaj shayad nahi hai," or "theek hai," whatever. It's a Saturday evening and a festival evening for all of us. But that just shows we must be doing something right, that we've kept all of you engaged here. And it's a pleasure to see all of you again. So I've been getting a lot of requests for phrases and clauses. I remember even when we did the Google form and other places, every time I tend to ask teachers, there are phrases and clauses. I'm just curious, not being an English teacher, even I want to learn what's phrases and clauses and what's the challenge that you face. It'll be a learning session today for me also. So just like all of you. So ma'am, even I may have a few questions as we move ahead today.
Bring it on. I don't know whether I will have the answers for all, but definitely we shall try to find.
But it's the biggest pleasure of a student is when the teacher doesn't know the answer.
Yes. So many people are going to have that pleasure today.
Because I always tell the teachers, I said it's such a positive feeling and a good feeling for the students when teacher says, good question, let's discuss it next time.
Yeah.
You're like, अरे मैम को भी नहीं आता, मैंने ऐसा कुछ पूछा जो मैम को नहीं आता.
Yeah.
So that pleasure, but I'm sure our teachers will get to learn a lot of content today. And yes, Mamta, I'm happy Makar Sankranti to you too. That's Makar Sankranti. I think all the Mungfli and Gachak made me miss the session today. So
it's okay, Himani. It happens to all of us.
I know. It's just I'm feeling so awkward. I'm feeling so bad. All the teachers being here, but in a minute or so I'll be normal again.
Every now and then, even for us teachers, we'll be sitting in the staff room, just sitting, and then suddenly we realize, oh my God, it's my period. And then we run to the class, it happens.
Yes. So now ma'am, we are at 60 and I think we can begin this session.
Okay.
So without further ado, welcome once again to everybody. And we'll have a session from phrases and clauses with the most adored and loved resource, Miss Anuradha Murthy, who does not need any more introductions in the commune. Ma'am, over to you.
Okay. Good evening to everyone and a happy Makar Sankranti for everybody. New beginnings for all. It's a new year. It's the harvest time. Everybody is in a very, very happy mood. So let's hope at the end of this session also we go away at least somewhat happy with some of our questions resolved. So I actually started with the idea of doing phrases and clauses. But then once I kind of got into looking at it, I realized that I might have to stop at only phrases this time and then go on to clauses the next time. Clauses, actually, once you have understood phrases very well, clauses are very easy. It's like, the elder brother and the younger brother. Usually the elder child is very quiet and very sweet and very nice, and is the younger one that is the one that creates all the trouble. So here it's the phrases that creates all the trouble in understanding. And once you've got this, then clauses becomes very easy to understand. It's very similar in the approach to clauses. So let's get on to about what is this phobia that phrases arouses not only in the student's mind but also in the mind of the teachers. Because every time you feel, okay, I have understood. Some child comes up with some question and then you're back to square one and you're again wondering, how do I answer this question, right? So I looked at the net for what is the definition of phrases. And it seems so simple. The definition you get anywhere is that a phrase is a group of words that has no subject and no verb. Now, it seems it's just a one-liner and you feel, okay, that is very easy. You get a group of words that has no subject and no verb. It's very easy. But then once you get into explaining, that's when you start getting into it's a real like quicksand. You get sucked in and flounder many times. Let's look at what actually a phrase is. Okay, let's just keep aside that definition, because if you go by the definition, very often you will get stuck. So let us actually understand what a phrase is. When you teach in the class also, and I will be doing that with you, how you go about teaching in the class, please do not begin with this definition. If you have been doing all this while, as of today, please stop it. Do not start with the definition, because the definition will trap you. You will get so stuck with the definition that you will not be able to explain actually what a phrase is, and the child will go back to to his home, to his mom, and say that we did something in grammar, but I have not understood what exactly it is, right? Because if we were to look at a phrase as a group of words that has no subject and no verb. So let's look at this sentence. There was a boy sitting on the bench, right? Now, what would you do? The phrase is a boy sitting on the bench. Okay. So it is supposed to have no subject and no verb. Sitting, we know, is not a verb. But for the child's mind, okay, sitting is a verb. A boy sitting. So there's a subject and a verb. Then how is this a phrase? Okay, so then there starts the confusion in the child's mind. Because for him, the word sitting is a doing word, and a doing word is a verb. So there is a verb, sitting. How can it not be how can it be a phrase? Okay. So actually, if you look at what a phrase is actually a group of words that has no finite verb. If we have to tell this in the class, the child has first to know very well the difference between a finite verb and a non-finite verb. Okay. First of all, finite, we instinctively call it infinite, right? So you have to be very careful in the way that you speak in the class, in the terms that you use in the class. The opposite of finite, as far as grammar is concerned, is non-finite, not infinite. Because an infinitive is something totally different. Okay, so the terms that you use also have to be very, very clear. So before we teach what a phrase or a clause is, we need the child to know exactly what a finite or a non-finite verb is. Finite verb, very easy to teach. If there is a verb in a sentence and it changes according to the subject or the tense, then it is a finite verb. For example, I've given you the examples over there. The boy sits on the bench. That's the present tense. The subject is singular. The boy sat on the bench. Now, if you are to talk about the past tense, then automatically that verb changes. If it changes, it is a finite verb. The boys, the number in the subject changes. Instead of a singular, you have the plural. So when it becomes the plural, again, the verb changes. So if the verb changes according to the tense or the number in the subject, it is a finite verb. This is pretty simple for the child to understand, because before this, quite often we have done subject verb agreement to some extent. At least we would have introduced that topic in the class, so they are aware of it. Even if this is not done as a topic in the class, everybody knows the boy sits in the class, the boys sit in the class. This is something very, very simple. Everybody knows. So if you just tell this, the child understands, okay, this is a finite verb. The problem comes with understanding what is a non-finite verb. For example, the boy sitting on the bench is eating a sandwich. Okay. Now, what happens over here? There are two ing words here, sitting, eating. Before the word sitting, okay, you don't have any other verb. But before the word eating, you have an is over there. So if you have to change this into the past tense, how will you change it? The boy sitting on the bench was eating a sandwich. If you are changing the number in the subject, the boys sitting on the bench are eating a sandwich. So what happens throughout? The verb sitting does not change at all. If a verb does not change, regardless of the change in tense or number of subject, we call it a non-finite verb if it remains unchanged. Okay. Present and past participles therefore fall under this category, only the participle. Now, when we are doing this also, please remember, is eating together is the present continuous tense. Is eating together. But if you have to break this up, is your auxiliary verb or helper verb, and eating becomes your participle if you take it alone. Therefore, and I think talked about this even when we were doing tenses, in the lower classes, when you're introducing present continuous, past continuous, future continuous tenses, and you're asking the children to underline, okay, where the present tense or present continuous tense, please make sure or tell the teachers who teach those particular classes, grade 2, grade 3, grade 1, 2, 3, wherever you all are teaching them, that underline is and eating, not just eating. Because the word eating by itself is not the continuous tense. It is a participle that forms part of the continuous tense. Okay, so that fundamentally, that concept has to be very clear in your mind and in the mind of the teacher teaching the students throughout, whichever grade you all are teaching. So, sitting is a participle, and a participle is a non-finite verb. Now it's reasonably easy to understand or to identify the present participle. Okay. But when it comes to past participle, there can be confusion because some past participles are also past tenses. Okay, I've given an example here. The girls hung festoons around the Christmas tree. What is the verb over here? Hung. And when you look at the word hung, you know that it happened in the past tense, in the past. The girls hung festoons Christmas tree. Now let's look at the next sentence. The Christmas tree hung with festoons looked very attractive. Here also we're using the word hung. Now, as a teacher, you might think this is, the same thing. Why is this Anuradha Murthy going on and on about this? This is so simple. But it is not simple in the child's mind. And that is why I make it a point to kind of go on and on to the extent of maybe being a nag about it. You have to make it clear to the child with various examples, the difference between a tense word and a participle. Once the child has got that difference, and once it is clear in your mind also, so that you don't get confused, it becomes easy to explain what is a finite and what is a non-finite verb. I am not touching too much on infinitives because that is very easy. Any word with the word to in front of it becomes the infinitive: to sit, to eat, to drink, etc., etc. That is very easy for the child to identify. It is the participles, present and more importantly past participle, that the children find very, very difficult and get confused while identifying for the sake of finite and non-finite verbs. When you have done this over and over again with the child, only then should you go to that to the phrase and clause. This is exactly what I have said just now. What exactly does a non-finite verb do? See, whenever you're teaching the children, like I said, don't take help of the definition. The definition is for us. You show the child how you use it in a sentence, because the child, you're not going to ask the child what is the definition of a non-finite verb or what is the definition of a phrase or a clause. You're not ever going to ask the child that. And if you are going to ask the child, please don't ask that, because that is not the point of teaching English to the children. We are teaching how you use present participle or a past participle or a finite or a non-finite verb, how it is used in a sentence. And therefore, the way in which you teach the child is that in a non-finite verb does not change if the tense of the verb or the number of the subject changes. More importantly, it gives you no clue of the tense. Therefore, when you have the boy sitting on the bench, if you take that as a group of words, we don't know whether the boy is sitting, was sitting, had been sitting, has been sitting. We don't know. The boy sitting on the bench. You need something more to understand, when it happened. Okay. So at this juncture, please give a whole lot of such examples. Please give a lot of varying examples. Try to confuse the children, so that you understand where the confusion lies, and you're able to catch that over there and make sure that the child completely understands this finite and non-finite verbs becomes very important, not only for phrases and clauses, but when you're going ahead for simple, compound and complex sentences also, you require, the child requires to know this. Therefore, don't be easy on the children over here. Don't be very sympathetic. Be a hard taskmaster at this point. Get them to understand the difference between a finite and a non-finite verb. Once that is done, then let us assume that you have taught the students finite and non-finite verbs before you begin the topic on phrases, which unfortunately was not the case for me when I first began teaching phrases in the class. I was just told to go to grade 7 and teach phrases and clauses the first time when I had to teach. And when I went in to teach, I realized that they had no clue of what is a finite or a non-finite verb. And the sentence that I gave you, that's exactly where we got stuck. When I said the boy sitting on the bench is eating a banana or whatever it is. And I said the boy sitting on the bench. So they're saying, but the word sitting is a verb. How can it be a phrase? And then then that's when I realized that they had no clue what a non-finite verb is. Okay. So if you are lucky, the children would have done finite and non-finite verb. But for some time, let us completely forget about finite and non-finite verbs. Let us forget about phrases and clauses. Okay. Let us forget for some time that you as a person know anything about what I am talking. Okay. Just wipe your mind clean. Just keep that one little bit of information. What is a subject and what is a predicate? Okay. I will require some of you to unmute yourself at this time to help me out with, please be my students here and help me out. Okay. Now, the old lady crossed the road. What is the subject and what is the predicate in this sentence?
The old lady is the subject, cross the road is the predicate.
Perfect. The old lady is the subject, cross the road is the predicate. But sir, how did you know that?
The old lady is the doer of the action, so that is why subject. So the old lady is actually doing an action. The action is crossing the road. So
Okay.
crossing the road becomes a predicate, and a predicate starts with a verb. So
Okay.
that's why.
Perfect. Perfect. So what did you do first? You looked at what is the verb, what is the action, right? Crossed. Then
Yes.
you looked at who is the doer, the old lady. And so you came to, okay, the old lady is a subject, cross the road is the predicate. Thank you, sir. Let's go on to the next sentence. The old lady wearing a white sari crossed the road. What is the subject?
Next sentence, the old lady wearing a white sari crossed the road. The old lady wearing a white sari is your subject, ma'am. And cross the road is your predicate.
Why?
The wearing a white sari is describing the old lady.
Okay.
Is not telling me the action what the old lady did.
Perfect. Okay. So still she's crossing the road.
And looking at it from a child's point of view, the child would tell me कि मैडम वो तो description है lady का.
Correct.
लड़की क्या कर रही है? वो road cross कर रही है.
Perfect.
So that becomes my predicate, and the entire first thing becomes my subject.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Now let's look at the next one. The old lady who was wearing a white sari crossed the road, which is the subject and which is the predicate.
Can I attempt again?
Wait. Can somebody else? Can somebody else tell me what is the subject and what is the predicate here?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
Madhumam, you're trying, I think.
Yeah. The subject is the old lady, and the predicate is who was wearing the white sari
Okay.
and then crossed the road.
Okay. All right. It's Madhu Thukral,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Who has answered?
Yeah, right.
Okay, yes. So Madhu ma'am, actually what is the old lady? What is important about this sentence? What is she doing?
Now she is actually crossing the road only.
Yeah.
But she was wearing a white sari. So what I see here, was wearing a white sari is actually describing the old lady only. But I can still see a verb here.
Perfect. Thank you. Because that's exactly, and you have answered for me exactly how a child will answer. At this juncture, the child is going to get confused.
Yeah.
What is happening over here? Okay. She is wearing the white sari, was wearing is over there, and she's crossing the road. So what do you do over here? Correct?
Yeah,
All
right.
This is exactly, that's why I said, let us wipe our slates clean. Let us not look at it as a teacher would look, but let us look at it as a child would look. And this is exactly where the problem is going to arise for the child. Now, what do you do? Okay.
So,
Yes, Himanshu sir, you have something?
actually, we could just simply explicate that the lady was not wearing the white saree at that point of time. It's again a description that who was wearing. She was not doing that, the action of wearing at that time. The
Hmm.
action remains the same, that is crossing the road. So she
Perfect.
crossed the road. So
Okay.
we could explicate in this particular way to the class.
Perfect. Perfect. Now, if I were to ask the difference between the old lady wearing a white sari and the old lady who was wearing a white sari, if I were to ask you as a student, okay, not as a teacher, okay, if I were to ask you, is there a difference between the old lady wearing a white sari and the old lady who was wearing a white sari?
Yes, ma'am. In the first one, I have not used any verb over there. I have just used a non-finite verb as a student.
But ma'am, you don't know finite verbs.
Wearing hair, miss.
I know as a
Taking,
no, I'm saying you are a student who has not studied finite and non-finite verbs. Okay.
Acha, okay. Yahan pe I'm giving a very accurate description of which lady was wearing a white sari.
That is the old lady in both the
The
places.
old lady. But which old lady? The one who was crossing the road, who was actually doing the action of crossing the road.
Okay.
And I mean, as a student, probably this is what I would say. I'm not looking at it from a teacher's point of view, but I'm looking at it from a student's point of view, because you do have some bright sparks in the class who come up with these kind of replies.
Okay. So can anybody else, thank you, Yamini. Can anybody else tell me, if I were to ask you as a student, is there a difference between the old lady wearing a white sari and the old lady who was wearing a white sari? Is there a difference, first of all?
Yeah. Can I speak, ma'am?
Yes, yes, Madhuban.
Yeah. The old lady wearing a white sari means any old lady. She might be in the white sari and she crossed the road. Now, in the second sentence, the old lady, that specific old lady who was wearing only the white sari, she was the one who crossed the road.
But ma'am, again, ma'am, when I'm arguing with you, you're my student, okay, right now? Okay. So I'm telling you, but the previous one also, the old lady is wearing the white sari only. And the second sentence also, she's wearing a white sari only.
Can I interrupt?
Wait. Can somebody else try? Yamini, just a minute.
The older lady wearing a white sari. Then second, the older lady who was wearing a white sari. Ma'am, there is connecting a relative pronoun.
Ma'am, you are a student who doesn't know about relative pronouns. See, this is what I'm saying. I am trying to take you into the student's mind.
Right.
As a teacher, it's very easy. All of us know it. But we get stuck because the child gets stuck. Okay. So I want you to answer me as a student who does not know what is a finite or a non-finite verb. And I, as a teacher, I'm just coming and I'm giving you these sentences and I'm saying, what is the difference between those two sentences?
Can I say that the second one, who was wearing a white sari, is showing me past continuous tense?
And the previous one?
Does not show me any tense.
Yes.
It's just telling me that the lady wearing a white sari is crossing the road.
Correct.
In the second one, it's telling me that was wearing. Utkal, it is past tense. So she was, who was wearing, crossed the road.
Right. So what happens in the second sentence? Okay, the old lady wearing a white sari. We don't know when it is happening. But the old lady who was wearing a white sari, you know that it is the past continuous tense. So The old lady wearing a white sari, I call it a phrase. And the old lady who was wearing a white sari, I call it a clause. Now you tell me as a student, if I say that the old lady wearing a white sari is a phrase, the old lady who was wearing a white sari is a clause, what is the difference between a phrase and a clause?
A phrase doesn't have a timeline and a clause has a timeline.
Yes.
Oh, I clapped it. Nice.
In a phrase, you don't know whether it is in the present, past, or future. In a clause, you know whether it is in the present, past, or future. That is the essence, fundamental difference between a phrase and a clause. All the subject, predicate, subject, and object, and a verb, and this and that comes later. That is the dressing. Basic, the salt in the khana is that a phrase is a group of words in which either there is no action taking place. For example, the old lady. The old lady also would be a phrase. Okay. So either no action is taking place. If there is an action word like wearing, we don't know when the action took place. Do you think the children will be clearer with this kind of explanation? Of course, just one explanation is not going to be enough. You have to give multiple such explanations for them to understand what is the fundamental difference between a phrase and a clause. What is similar? Both are groups of words. What is different? In a phrase, you don't know when something happened, whatever it is happening. In a clause, you know when it is happening. Okay. Any questions here? Any confusion? Anybody feels that no, the children won't understand in this way?
Ma'am, everybody said that it's very simple, clear, excellent, amazing.
Okay, thank you. So now let's go on to the next. So now, once they have understood what exactly is the difference, now what have you done with whatever I just did in the previous slide? We have just explained, or we have just introduced the concept of phrases and clauses, but it will not be clear for the child. Just one or two examples, or just one day, 1/2 hour or 35-minute period is not going to cut it. You need to do it often. So first, what do? You begin, give them sentences where there are phrases with no verb in it. The pretty girl eats an ice cream. The old lady crosses the road, for example. The last leaf is hanging on the tree. Okay, give simple sentences where it is easy for the child to pick out the phrase. One thing, teachers, you have to know is that you have to build the child's confidence. You as a teacher have to give the child that feeling, I know it. It is easy. I can do it. If you come with that high horse that, look, I am a Pandit in English and I know so much, and I'm going to tell you people who don't know anything, the children will be shivering with fright and will find that they will say that grammar is difficult. And you have failed as a teacher then, because your duty, your fundamental duty as a teacher is not to show others how good you are, but to make them good, to make them confident. So how do you make them confident? Just like how for a little child, you first hold and let them take smaller steps, and then you leave and ask them to take longer, walk for longer distances. In the same way, in phrases and clauses or in any concept, start with something very simple. Get them to feel, oh, I know it. When they see all the tick, 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 everything excellent, fantastic, and all that, then you can take them to the next step, which is also, it's a little more difficult than having a group of words with no verb at all. And that is giving with present participles. The pretty girl singing the song is my cousin, or whatever like that. So singing a song is my cousin. you ask them in that sentence, if you were to put it in the past tense, what would you do? They will say the pretty girl singing a song was my cousin. Okay, if you want to make it, future, the pretty girl singing. I don't know if it will be like that, but anyway, we'll not look at the fact about it, but the grammar of it. The pretty girl singing a song will be my cousin. Okay, so then you ask the child, where did you change? What part of the sentence did you change? Did you change singing a song? You didn't change that at all. You kept changing is and was and all that. You changed somewhere else. You didn't change singing. If you don't change that, then it is not counted as a finite verb. It is a non-finite verb. And a phrase, now you expand, a phrase is not just a group of words, but a phrase is a group of words that also contains a non-finite verb. Okay, give a whole lot of present participles. It is easier to recognize a present participle because there is the ing. So they know, okay, a word with ing, and if there is no is, are, am in front of it, fine, that is a present participle. I know this. And then you take the next step where again there is confusion, which is past participle. The pretty girl seated on the last bench. Okay, seated on the last bench. Again, you give them is my cousin, was my cousin, whatever. Does the word seated change? Now, since the concept has been, like, you have touched upon it and done exercises with singing, crossing, clinging, and all that earlier, now the concept is clear and they will find it easier to locate a past participle. Okay, once you have done that, it becomes, the rest of the thing becomes easy. Now, that is understanding what is a phrase, picking out what is a phrase. Now comes the next major problem. And for this, you again have to be very careful, because a sentence can have multiple phrases, right? And it can have a phrase within a phrase. For example, the girl seated on the last bench sang the song. Okay, now here, which is the subject and which is the predicate? Can somebody tell me?
The pretty girl seated on the last bench is the subject, sang the song is the predicate.
Yeah. Again, what did we do? We looked at what is happening. What is the main thing that is happening? It is not that the girl is sitting on the bench. That is important. What is important? What am I talking about? Is that she sang the song. So sang is the verb. Verb plus whatever comes after that becomes a predicate. Whatever comes before the main verb becomes the subject. Fine. So the pretty girl seated on the last bench. That becomes your subject. And it is also a phrase. Why? Because there is no finite verb. By now the child understands this. But look at the problem. The pretty girl can be one phrase. Seated on the last bench is another phrase. The last bench also is another phrase. So if you just give a sentence and ask the child to identify the phrase, you will get multiple answers. Some of them will just write the pretty girl. That is correct. The pretty girl seated on the last bench, also correct. The last bench, also correct. In your marking scheme, you might have said the pretty girl seated on the last bench as your, that is the answer. But if a child has underlined the pretty girl, how are you going to explain to the child that he or she is wrong?
Ma'am, I guess firstly we need to explicate the point that there are certain types of phrases like noun phrase, verb phrase, adjective phrase, prepositional phrase. Only then they'll be able to understand, because the phrase in a sentence works like a noun, adjective, or an adverb. So if they are sound with parts of speech, if we make them sound with the parts of speech, only then we'll be able to articulate their point of view in answer script as well. So firstly, we need to make them clarify this difference, whether it's a noun phrase or adverb phrase or prepositional phrase and so on and so forth.
So you are saying that before they are able to identify a phrase, we should teach them the types of phrases.
No, ma'am.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying when they are being confused with this concept, like if because the pretty girl seated on the last bench is a noun phrase here, it's working as a noun, it's a complete noun. So firstly we need to make them understand that this is the complete subject, and subject can only be a noun or pronoun. So definitely this subject is not a pronoun, so the remaining part is noun. And then we will ask them to understand the concept of phrase, that the pretty girl cannot be simply one phrase here. So the pretty girl seated on the last bench will be the ultimate phrase because it's a noun thing. It's working as a noun, as a complete noun here.
Okay. So I would argue, okay, that you have asked me to identify a phrase in the sentence. I have identified the pretty girl as a phrase.
Okay.
Right? It happens, sir. It has happened with me also. And it is because of all this that I have realized that, how we have to be careful in how we are writing the questions. Okay. What you said makes perfect sense to me as a teacher. Right? I agree with you completely.
Yes.
But
Yes.
when the children, imagine like the child is saying, but why? And then what will he say? Sir just gave me wrong because he doesn't like me. Right? Because that's quite often what the children go home and tell. I don't know why I got it wrong. He just told me it is wrong. Those kind of things. Therefore, what should we do? In the beginning, before we have taught them the different types of phrases, remember we are taking step by step. So we have taught them what are phrases. Now we are asking them to identify whether it's a phrase or a clause or whatever. So you have to ask them, first you underline the group of words, and then you ask them to identify whether it is a phrase or a clause. Okay. Because once they have understood what is a phrase, clause becomes very easy for them to understand. Because a clause is a group of words that has a subject and a finite verb. It can sometimes be a complete sentence, sometimes be a part of a sentence. For example, the boy ate an ice cream. It is a clause. It is also a sentence. Okay. The boy ate an ice cream is a clause, and listened to music is a clause. Both of them are joined together in a compound sentence. Two clauses that are joined together in a compound sentence. The boy ate an ice cream while he waited for the bus. Two clauses joined together in a complex sentence. So you have simple, compound, complex. In all of them, you have clauses. There is no problem with identifying a clause. I'm not talking about different types of clauses. I'm talking just about the whether it is a phrase or a clause. That's all. Okay. Yes, sir. You had a question?
I had a question, ma'am. In the
Yeah.
previous sentence, suppose a child, a student, says the pretty girl, subject, seated on the last bench as my predicate.
Okay. So there you can explain to the child that that is wrong, because you have to, of course, when you would have done subject and predicate, you would have been talking about what is the main verb in the sentence, right? Okay. So you have to tell that in that sentence, what am I talking about? I'm saying that somebody sang a song, and that seated on the last bench is just talking about the pretty girl. So even if I remove seated on the last bench, can the sentence make sense? The pretty girl sang the song. I'm still having a sentence. So the word sang is the verb.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. I just wanted this, how to
Yeah,
go
yeah,
about explaining it. That's it.
Correct, correct. Ma'am, why am I able to tell you this? Because hundreds of times I have been in this situation. Yeah, that's why. And I have also scratched my, wondered how do I explain? And then, because you have to find the easiest possible way to explain to a child and not get into definitions. Take that as a challenge for yourself as a teacher from now. How do I teach without ever talking about the definition? Once the child understands, then I'll give the definition. That way. Okay. All right. So here, this is, like I said, it's very, very easy. Once you understand whatever is a phrase, In a way, you can even explain if it is not a phrase, it's a clause. That's all. Right? So you have a word, then you have a group of words, which is a clause, which is a phrase, and then a phrase with or a group of words with a subject and a verb, a finite verb, not just a verb. By now, when you're talking about phrases and clauses, make sure that you keep using the word non-finite or finite when you're explaining what is a phrase or a clause. Okay. Now, if the exercise that you're giving to the student is one of identifying the type of phrase, so here we come to, sir, what you were talking about. All the more it is important that you underline the phrase, because now when you're taught the types of phrases, you are not asking, do you know what is a phrase? What you're asking now, do you know which type of phrase it is? Okay, so underline it. Now, let's look at this particular sentence. The pretty girl wearing a blue dress is my cousin. If I take the whole thing, the pretty girl wearing a blue dress, it becomes a noun phrase. If I take the pretty girl, it is a noun phrase. But if I say wearing a blue dress, if I take that as my phrase, it is known as an appositive phrase. Okay, because it tells you a little more about the noun. It is within that. And then you have a blue dress. Just that becomes an adjective phrase. So again, you're stuck with which part of that phrase has the child underlined, or which part is he or she taking to tell you which kind of phrase it is. So
they will simply tell us
yes, sir.
They will just simply tell us the pretty girl as a noun phrase, nothing else. I'm pretty sure. And I could just simply remember once I just talked about this word, the positive phrase, then they were like totally in a state of dark because they never heard about this word that we have a positives in English, but then we also need to explain that it's a writing style also, because when we grow higher, so we also need to study. So I think they'll just simply tell us the pretty girl as a noun phrase and nothing else, because it happens.
Of course, you're absolutely right. They will take the simplest way out of the whole thing, right? The pretty girl. But suppose you are looking at, and let's say you are looking at the pretty girl wearing a blue dress, that is what I'm looking at as my answer. And sometimes, sir, what happens is, especially when the teachers are new and they are very, afraid of doing the wrong thing, they would rather stick to what their HODs or their seniors have told them and give the child wrong, even if the child is right.
It happens.
That is the reality. I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying that they are so nervous at that time that they don't want to take that chance. And therefore, as senior teachers, we need to be very, very careful how the question is worded so that it is very clear what you are expecting from the child. So when you're looking at the paper, also look at it from how the child will interpret. I'll tell you, there were some bloopers that I made for a comprehension passage. This I have shared with wherever I meet some teachers and I'm talking to them about how we have to be careful. In a comprehension passage, the question that I wrote was, can you suggest a title to this passage? This child answered, no, I cannot.
That's amazing. That is.
So, and then, see, I was new. And I asked my HOD and she said, how can you give this right? The child has not answered. But the child is saying, but I have answered. You said, can you? I'm saying, no, I cannot. I was in a fix at that time. I had to give him 0 for that answer, but I felt terrible about it, right? And that's when I realized I should not say, can you suggest a title? I should rather say, suggest a title to the passage.
Yes, exactly.
You know, so it's these little things that we need to be very careful with when we are setting a paper or when we are, worksheets or whatever it is. that we are when we are teaching. As teachers, it is not, again and again I tell you, it is not how much knowledge you have, it is how you are putting across the knowledge to the
Yeah.
child, how clearly you put it across. Okay.
Thank you.
Now, let's see how you do this. I would like multiple people to please answer. Okay. She studied under the street light. Let's take the first sentence.
Can I? Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah,
Madhu.
sure, ma'am.
Yeah, under the street light.
Huh. Under the street light. Okay. What is it? Is it a phrase or a clause?
It's a phrase.
Okay. And what kind of, okay, let's say that we have not right now talked about different types of phrases. Fine. Under the street light is the phrase. You're absolutely right. Next, can somebody else answer? Put the
Yes.
cups on the desk.
On the desk.
May I, ma'am?
Phrase. On the desk is the phrase.
On the desk is the phrase. Does anyone have any other answer to this? Where is the verb in the sentence?
The cups, ma'am. The cups.
What about the cups?
Put is a verb.
Noun.
Yes. Put is the.
Noun is put, ma'am.
Huh. No.
No, put is a verb.
Put is a verb.
This is
Right?
an imperative sentence.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
Imperative sentence and
Yes.
you is understood
correct.
over there.
You is a subject over here. Okay. Put is a verb. Therefore, can we say the cups on the desk is a phrase?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So it is not so easy. Just say on the desk. On the desk is a phrase. But the cups on the desk also becomes a phrase.
It's also
Yes.
phrase. Yes, exactly.
Okay. Third one.
Glanced out of the windows.
No, ma'am. Out of the windows.
Out of the
Only
windows.
out
Out of the windows.
Only out of the windows.
Out of
Right?
the
That's
windows.
what is it?
Phrase.
Prepositional phrase, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Now next one. I
A
know a
woman-
woman. Sorry.
A woman who works in Delhi police. This one.
A woman who works in Delhi police, right? The whole
Yeah, ma'am.
thing, what is it?
It is a noun phrase, ma'am.
Okay. Works is,
No, it's not. I
It's a
think
clause.
works is there. How could it
Yes,
be
ma'am.
phrase?
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be
And it's a clause.
It is a
ma'am.
clause.
It's a clause,
It's a
yeah.
clause.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a
It's a
clause.
noun.
look. When you give an answer, you have to be able to give me an explanation for the answer. I'm not saying that the first person who answered me is wrong. I'm not saying that.
Meenu ma'am
Think about
answered us
it.
first. Priya ma'am is Priya ma'am and somebody will read me as a name. They are saying clause.
Hmm.
Priya ma'am, would you like to
Because
just explain
works is used as a
Yeah,
fine.
it's Redmi, it's me. Works is it's change. It will change according to the tense, according to the subject. So it's a clause. It's
Okay, ma'am. You all feel it's a clause. Now, if I were to tell you that this particular sentence, I know a woman who works in Delhi police, make that into the past tense.
I
New.
know a woman. It would be I know a woman
Worked
who
in Delhi
worked
police.
Delhi police. It would be, yeah.
Why?
It
Can
has
I?
a timeline, so it will be
If
clause.
A woman. Past form may will be using the
I
past form.
knew,
I
it
knew.
would be I knew.
I knew a
I
woman who.
I knew a woman who worked in
I
Delhi
knew a
police.
woman who worked in Delhi police, or I know a woman who
Okay.
like
Can
who worked.
I say I knew a woman who works in Delhi police?
I knew a woman who works.
No,
Yeah,
ma'am.
but if starting portion will be no, it would be who worked in Delhi police.
Look,
Yes, ma'am.
she's still working. I knew her.
Yeah, it would be. This is what I'm saying. If she is still working, then we'll write there who works in Delhi police. If she's not working, अगर पहले करती थी तो who worked in Delhi.
Right.
Size breasts.
So works will not change, no? When you're making in the past tense. I knew a woman who works in Delhi police. I knew her.
Okay.
But I have not stopped knowing her, no? It's
I
not that
knew. Now
Okay.
maybe I have lost contact. You know, suppose if somebody is asking me for help. Yeah, I knew a person who works in Delhi police. Now I have lost touch with her. I will still say who works in Delhi police.
No,
he
ma'am.
might be working, but
Ma'am, I guess in indirect speech, we also change the tense. So suppose if I knew a woman who worked in Delhi police, will it not be
No,
like?
one sec, Himanshu, sir. Don't
Yeah.
bring in direct, indirect over here. Huh?
Yeah.
There is,
Yeah.
as it is, enough khichdi here.
Okay.
We'll come to that. Direct and indirect later we'll come to it, but right now.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, suppose if we just selectively take who works in DP, so that will be a subordinate clause. That's okay. But yeah, a woman who works in Delhi police, here it's a phrase. I mean, yeah.
Now
Here
you
it's
realize it's a phrase because
a
when
phrase.
I say, when I ask you as students to make it into the past tense, you would say, and which is, I knew a woman, because where will you look for to know whether it is the present or the past or the future? You look at the word know. You're not going to look at the word works. Who works in Delhi police is talking about. Correct? It's an actually it's an adjectival phrase.
Yes.
Did
Hats
you
off to
understand?
all the teachers who teach English.
No, Himanshi, I can't, Himani, I don't know how to tell you how confusing this one topic is.
I know that's why everybody wanted to understand this.
Yes. And that's why I say, no, that even I've gone through today, whole morning, I was just looking at various sites to see whether there is any easy explanation to these phrases and clauses, something that I can absorb and, help to give. And everywhere it is subject and verb, and I felt that is not the main thing, it is not the main thing that differentiates a phrase and a clause. It is the presence or absence of finite verbs that differentiates a phrase and a clause. And unfortunately, somehow that comes as the second thing, not as the first thing. And that's what I want you as teachers to understand, that if you put that as first, it becomes easier to understand. Anyway, let's go on to the next. We cannot live without oxygen or fresh air.
Ma'am, I guess oxygen or fresh air?
Yes. Yes, perfect. Okay, here it is simple. She wears a bracelet which is made of silver.
A bracelet which is made of silver. Again, it is similar sentence as the previous.
Correct. Yeah. Now, similar, they cannot go while it is snowing.
While it is snowing. While it is snowing, no?
Yeah. Now here what happens? This is a clause. They could not go while it. You automatically will have to change, no? Both the parts. Do you understand what I'm saying? See, when I take the sentence, I know a woman who works in Delhi police. And if I say that, if I want to make this into the past tense, you will say, I knew a woman who works in Delhi police. Okay. But when you say they cannot go while it is snowing, I cannot make this sentence a correct sentence by saying they could not go while it is snowing. Right? They could not go while it was snowing. Am I confusing you all?
No.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Phrases and clauses are for sure.
Then, I have no clue what he did with those funds. Where would you break the sentence? Where's the main verb?
Have is the, I guess, main verb.
Correct.
Yes, have,
Okay.
not yes, have is actually the main verb. And no clue what he did with those funds. So this would be.
So over there, now again you break it up. No clue becomes a phrase. What he did with those funds becomes a clause, etc., etc. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Now you see how much confusion there is. Okay, within us only, when we have been teaching phrases and clauses for so long, when we start questioning further, you get confused. And what was the question? Identify the phrases or clauses in the following sentences. Rather, wouldn't it be better to do this? Now it becomes easy.
Yes.
And
Okay,
first you differentiate like between phrases and clauses, and then you come to identification of each.
correct. Okay, so this is the point that I'm trying to make, that when you're giving the question, okay, be nice to your students, help them, give them some clues, and then you find out. Don't just leave them in this like a completely uncharted forest and say, okay, come on now, find your way, right? Okay, now we come to bigger problem, types of phrases. Left to me, where I have any say, I would tell the teachers not to teach the types of phrases because it really makes no difference if the child knows it or doesn't know it. A child needs to know, okay, that's another question, teachers. If a student asks you, why do I need to know the difference between phrases and clauses? What would your answer be? Because you have to get marks in the paper. Apart from that, in real life, I have been asked this question, ma'am, I'm going to become a computer engineer. Why should I know what is the difference between phrases and clauses? If that question were posed to you, how do you think you would answer this question?
I would require a clause when I would write down my creative writing thoughts, so that I know exactly how I can connect one part of a sentence to another part of a sentence.
Yes, Yashita ma'am, you had something to add. Yamini ma'am, you are absolutely right. Thank you. Yashita ma'am, you started, I think, saying something. No? Is there anyone?
Can
Yes.
I? Yeah. I think we need to know the phrases and clauses, because phrases will help me maybe summarize and reduce the number of sentences that I'm using to describe something or write something.
Perfect. Perfect.
Use a lot of phrases.
Right. If you know how to handle phrases, you can tighten your writing. You know, you can reduce the number of words, and nowadays for everything you need to say a lot using the least number of words, and phrases becomes very useful over there. Okay, so if phrases, I need to know why clauses.
But without clause, we cannot just simply put across our meaning, no? Because ultimately, subject and verb is the primary thing that we need to use in order to impart the complete meaning. But yes, with phrases, like now I really want to say this thing, that a positive phrases, they help us a lot while writing research papers and all the things, because it reduces the amount of word and help us complete the meaning.
Correct. Absolutely.
Word.
Absolutely. So teachers, I need you to understand one thing, that when you go into the class in order to teach something, first understand why we are teaching this, right? And don't have this thing in mind, I'm teaching it because my HOD told me to teach it. I'm teaching it because it is there in the book. But for your own information, for your own growth as a teacher, try to go beyond that and see why. Why would anyone, whoever it is who has designed the syllabus, why would that person want this to be taught in the class? Okay, so phrases and clauses, yes, it is necessary because it helps the child as an adult, because most English, how to handle English sentences, how to write, almost all of it is taught only in the school. Once they go to college, English is very, very rarely taught unless they take up English as a subject. If they're taking up any other subject, English is not taught as a subject at all, or at least it is very much marginalized. It is there just to pass, and they focus more on the other subjects. However, for them to grow in their chosen fields, they need to have a good command over the English, because whether it is a presentation, whether it is a document that they are writing, an email that they are writing, anywhere, their grasp of the language is very, very useful for them to go ahead in their life. And therefore, in such cases, phrases and clauses becomes necessary. Then types of phrases is yes, it's good to have knowledge, but it's not going to help them in any way, at least according to me. If you can point out any other way in which a type, like if I know this is an adjectival phrase, remember, let's say that I am a fashion designer. Okay, I'm a fashion designer. Why would I need to know something is an adjectival phrase and not an adverbial phrase? Maybe I will need to know a phrase and a clause, because then I will be able to put whatever I am writing in my advertisement or brochure or something. I can make it shorter, sweeter, snappier. I can write. But why would I want to know that? Why would I need to know? Not want to know. Why would I need to know?
Okay. Can I?
Yes, please.
Yeah, because I am, since I'm in that industry, which requires a lot of descriptive and beautiful descriptions of things. So I do need to know certain adjectives, which will actually help me maybe advertise my things, or maybe make my things more presentable to people. And adverbial phrases, because I'm not talking too much where is it, I am focusing more on the part which focuses on the description part of something.
Okay.
So I do require certain phrases.
Ma'am, I'm not telling that I don't need to know how to use it. I'm saying I don't need to know that this is the title to what I'm using. Now, for example, I am able to write that he has extremely evil eyes. This is the sentence over there, right? On the on your monitor. Right? He has extremely evil eyes. I'm writing it. Whether I know that I'm using adjective phrase or noun phrase or whatever, I'm writing extremely evil eyes. That's my point, that I don't need to classify it. However, that is my personal opinion. And I don't, I know I come across very strongly about it, because I really believe very passionately, but please follow what your school says. If you are in a position to make a little bit of difference, I would suggest that you don't teach this. Be nice to yourself, be kind to yourself and to your students. Stop at letting them understand perfectly what is the difference between a phrase and a clause, but they don't really need to know what kind of clause or what kind of phrase it is. However, keep that aside. As teachers, let us look. Sorry, yes, Madhuban.
Yeah, ma'am, I completely agree with you, actually. I also believe that there are unnecessary nitty-gritties of the grammar will actually make things so tedious for them that they begin to hate these topics.
Correct.
The grammar should actually make them comfortable with the language rather than focusing too much on every minute detail.
Correct.
So far, they're able to communicate well and they're able to do well with the language. I think it's absolutely fine.
Thank you so much. I hope many of you do agree, and I hope many of you are in a position to make some change in the school. But we are all English teachers, and therefore knowing a little more about the language is always helpful to us. With that in mind, I thought anyway I will talk about the different kinds of phrases. Now look at this, okay? There is a difference between an adjective phrase and an adjectival phrase also, okay? Look, let's find out what is the difference. First of all, what is an adjective phrase? A phrase which tells you a little more about the noun or pronoun, just like it functions as an adjective. It's a phrase, it's more than one word. Okay, it's a phrase. It tells you more about the noun or pronoun. Therefore, it is an adjective phrase. Now, what is an adjectival phrase? Okay, in an adjectival phrase, the words tell you a little more about the noun or pronoun, but there is no adjective in those words. let's look at the two sentences, first two sentences. He has extremely evil eyes. The word evil is an adjective. Okay. And it tells you more about the eyes. So extremely evil is an adjective phrase. Whereas in the next sentence, buy the cake in the corner. Which cake? The cake which is in the corner. Because we asked the question which, right? For to know whether it's an adjective phrase or whatever. So in the corner tells us which cake, and therefore the words in the corner are functioning as an adjective. However, none of those words is an adjective. So it becomes an adjectival phrase. I hope this is clear to all of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yeah. Now, adverbial is where you're using like how, why, where, when, why, all those questions you ask. She sings how with passion. Okay. Noun phrase, I like what? I like this book. I've in the next slide, I have given you those various questions. So those of you who would like to write it down, I will pause a little further in the next one.
I have a question where the noun phrase is concerned.
Yeah.
I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately. I was always told by my HOD that a noun phrase always answers the question what. And
or
a
what?
noun phrase can be replaced with a pronoun. I'll just give a simple example that she had used many years before. Ira likes singing in the bath. Singing in the bath is your phrase. Okay. So Ira likes what? Singing in the bath was what she explained to me. And she replaced it by saying she likes it. Singing in the bath with an it. But I didn't understand this concept at all.
Okay.
The thing is, I have to write both the sentences if I have to replace that singing in the bath with the it.
Ma'am, I'll tell you something. She is 100% correct, but she didn't go the full length. She because what she is talking about is not noun phrase, but a gerund phrase. Okay. She likes whoever, what was the name you said? Whatever.
My HOD, I mean, the teacher who did this.
No. I was just telling the name. Say Bina.
Ira, anybody. She likes singing in the bath.
Okay. She likes singing in the bath, right? And she likes it. She likes what? She likes singing in the bath. Therefore, singing in the bath is functioning as a noun. She's perfectly right in that. However, the word, the phrase singing in the bath is beginning with a participle.
Okay.
So it's a gerund phrase. It's not a noun phrase.
Okay.
Huh?
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I guess because I just thought this topic, but we ask the question what when we teach clause. So, for example, she's thinking about she's thinking about her dad. So she's thinking what about her dad. That is a noun clause. So that's how. So when we teach clauses, I guess then
no, you do the same thing for the phrase also.
Okay, because
exactly that. That's why I said, sir, in the beginning that if you have understood phrase, clause is just one step ahead. That's all.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
It's exactly, absolutely exactly the same.
One more thing, ma'am, I want to ask.
Yeah.
A noun phrase can be used as a subject or as an object, I think, na?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
For example, the pretty girls are singing. No, every time why are pretty girls singing? The teacher is teaching the class. Okay, the teacher. Who is teaching the class? The teacher is teaching the class. Okay, so then that becomes a noun phrase because it's more than one word. A phrase can be a minimum of 2 words. So the teacher, it's a phrase, and it is functioning as a noun. She or who is teaching the class? The teacher is teaching the class. Okay, and here you
Yeah.
have a noun phrase on the monitor in front of you. I like what? I like this book. So it becomes a noun phrase.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
now
Thank you.
let's look at this
Would
prepositional phrase. Again, we come across a problem.
Would
Look
this
at the same sentence, okay? Buy the cake in the corner. Now, earlier, buy the cake in the corner, we had seen, okay, how it becomes an adjectival phrase in the corner. But it can also be a prepositional corner because a prepositional phrase because it is beginning with a preposition. Both the answers are right. Similarly, she sings with passion. So she sings how? She sings with passion, adverbial phrase. But she sings with is a preposition and therefore it can be a prepositional phrase also. Okay. So in case you get this, if you get multiple answers, please argue it out to yourself. Is it, I mean, don't just blindly give something wrong. Just think a bit how the child has thought of the particular sentence. Okay. Gerund phrase, this we had just talked about when Yamini ma'am gave that example. So I like collecting old bottles. I like it. I like what? Okay, I like it. It stands for collecting old bottles. Therefore, it is functioning as a noun, but it is beginning with a participle, and a gerund is a participle which functions as a noun. Okay. Are you all clear about, because quite often people get confused between what exactly is a participle and what is a gerund. If anyone would like me to touch upon that, let me know. Otherwise, I assume that you know about it, so I will not get into that.
May I, ma'am? May I, ma'am?
Yes, tell me, ma'am.
Ma'am, gerunds are the participles, means the ing form of verb which is used as a noun, means as
Yeah.
a subject or as a object in a sentence. And what else you asked, ma'am? Participles are,
present.
yeah, participles are the verb forms, means the present participle or the past participle which is used as an adjective in the sentence.
Or okay, so if I say spitting on the road is prohibited, the word spitting, what is it? Is it a participle or a gerund?
Gerund.
It is a gerund, ma'am.
Why?
Because it is used.
Yes, ma'am, you're right, but tell me why.
Because it is used as a subject here, ma'am.
Okay, if I were to not really understand what is this subject, I'm asking you to explain a little further. How would you explain this, ma'am? See,
ma'am, can you please repeat the sentence, please?
Spitting on the road is prohibited. It is gerund. You're 100% right. It is functioning as a noun. You're 100% right. But I, as a student, have not understood why it is. How is it functioning as a noun?
Ma'am, it is a name of an action here. Actually, it is not used as an adjective here. It is a name of any action here. Ki spitting on the road is prohibited. So it is a name of action. And what are nouns? Nouns are the names of anything. In this way, we can make it easy for the students.
Okay. Another way you can say,
It's a subject here.
Splitting is a noun, ma'am.
It's a subject here.
Sanjay sir, did you have something to say? Okay. So what you do is you tell them that, look, when you get an answer to the question what or who, that is a noun. So what is prohibited? Spitting is prohibited. Therefore, it is functioning as a noun, and it is a doing word which is ending in ing. Therefore, it's a participle. So a noun plus participle is equal to gerund.
My 8th standard English teacher, when we did this topic, she had told us that a gerund can be split into a participle. Sorry, an infinitive. But A participle can never be split into an infinitive.
Perfect.
Not that the tip works 100%.
Yes.
There
But
are
this, yeah, it's one of
exceptions to
the
the rule.
Yes.
Because you
Absolutely
said
right.
sitting is whatever. To sit is
Prohibited.
he is sitting on the road. He is to sit. Does not work grammatically.
Correct. Perfect. Right? So for example, here also gerund phrase. I
Hey,
like.
तू पतंग लेने जा रहा है ना? कहाँ पर?
Okay. I like collecting old bottles. Collecting is a gerund phrase, but the same way you can make the same sentence into I like to collect old bottles. That word collecting becomes to collect. You can change it, then it becomes an infinitive phrase. Participle phrase, the dog sitting in the corner looks like Snoopy. It begins with the word sitting, therefore it is a participle phrase. Appositive is a phrase which gives you a little more information of the subject. So Elizabeth I, the daughter of Henry VIII, or who is the daughter, that way, for example, the girl wearing a green dress is my sister. So wearing a green dress tells you a little more about the girl, and therefore it is known as an appositive phrase. Okay. So this is what I was saying. These are the questions. In case any one of you want to write this down, I'll just wait a minute. I've, as usual, gone way beyond the time that is allotted to me.
I was just about to say that ma'am, phrases will need another session. I'm very positive on that, phrases and clauses. And we can do a part 2 because, and teachers, if you can just take a screenshot or just take a, how do you say that picture of the screen for these instead of writing them down.
Yeah.
Because today I think we've done a lot to absorb. So we don't mind doing another session, but
Yeah.
I could see everybody so participative that I didn't get a chance to say anything.
Yeah. But mainly, everybody, I want you to be kind to yourself and to others and make things simple in your life. Okay.
True.
Just go to what is fundamental. Anything that is fundamental is easy to understand. So don't go get caught into definitions. That's all. And thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Can
ma'am.
you go back to that slide to take a screenshot?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Teachers, I'll take a feedback from all of you on what session we want the next commune meeting to be on, what kind of topic. If you would like, I would request everybody that, go through the phrases and clauses now the way you teach them. And write down. I always feel personally also, whenever I've attended a session, it helps when I write down and I try to change something that how I'm going to do it next time. Otherwise, if I feel I'm going to remember everything, that never works with me. And like we tell our students, ki likh ke yaad karo. So the same goes for you. All of you being students today, quickly take your notes down, fare them out and say, all right, next time when I try this in the class, maybe this is how we'll try. So that's one very
And
important
do
thing.
let us know whether it worked.
Yes, that's very important. That's very, very important that we get to know that whatever we are sharing, whatever we are discussing, you've tried and it works. We've got a feedback for a couple of other topics, and we would like one for phrases and clauses. So far, I think, Anuradha ma'am, the most challenging topic, I guess.
Yes.
I mean, I've seen maximum participation in this session. Everybody has been thinking, and I didn't have to mute anybody. Everybody was so in their thought process. Nobody unmuted unnecessarily, or we had any disturbances. So I've got a very good feedback on the chat box. Thank you, everybody. And I like to take just 2 minutes to work with all of you. I'll like to show you how to fill in the feedback form for your certificates. So that's just another 2 minutes that I will take. So ma'am, may I share my screen?
Mani ma'am, I had asked a question.
Yes.
Sentence in the box. So if
I'm so sorry. I think I missed it.
Anuradha ma'am could help me out with that.
Gigi, if you can, and you're already unmuted, Yamini ma'am, if you can ask otherwise.
Acha, okay, no issues, ma'am. Absolutely no issues. I had asked, where did that sentence go now?
Yeah, that's what even I'm trying to look for actually.
Okay. I had written it to you directly. So
last chief of Worli tribe died last night. The last chief of the Worli tribe.
The last
Noun.
chief of the Warli tribe died last night. So last chief of the Warli tribe, noun phrase. But last night would be what?
Adverbial, when.
When. So adverbial phrase, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, fine. That was a slight confusion between me
because the word
and
last, the difference in meaning.
Yeah, that's the little slight confusion. So I got into an argument with somebody and I was very sure today I would be able to rectify my answer. Thank you so much, ma'am.
This is the one of the privileges or one of the, happy moments I always get when teachers come with that confidence that, when we go to the commune, all our queries will be solved. I love that concept, that thought. It's such a, it's very, rewarding to, I was just looking for the words, very rewarding when I hear something like that. Thank you so much, Yamini ma'am. And I feel all of you, I think, and I want all of you to feel the same. Any query, any questions, we're always there. I would also like to mention here, Anuradha ma'am is also an author for Madhuban's Grammar Magic. All that she teaches here, she'll never mention it herself. So I would take this moment to mention this. Madhuban's Grammar Magic is by Anuradha Murthy. And all that she teaches here, I think you'll find it in letter and spirit in the book. So do ask for the local representatives to share the book with you and go through it however you would like. Even having it in your library would be a very big plus for all of you, I'm sure about it. Well,
Ma'am, I would like to interrupt here. Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
At times, as a teacher, we need a personal copy also. Library means once we issue and then we have to
you
return
have
it.
my number on the WhatsApp group. Just send me a personal message. I'll get it arranged. Not a problem at all.
Achha, one more thing, ma'am. Do you publish books for 9th and 10th too? Or only
Yes.
for 1 to 8?
Basically, our updated versions and everything, we are a K to 8 publisher. So K to 8, we have our best books. I'll not lie there. 9th and 10th, we do some very limited series, which are good, but not a lot.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But like I always say, I don't want to make this a promotional call. So I've just mentioned I understand, Kavita ma'am, for 9th and 10th, we do have one. So just drop me a message in a personal window. I'll send it across to you. You can go through it. If you like it, you can keep it as a reference.
Certainly. Like at times, we really need additional books to give additional practice.
Just drop me a WhatsApp. I'll get it arranged. Not a problem. Now, teachers, for all of you, when you click on the link of the feedback, which has been shared in the WhatsApp, Avantika, I'll request you if you could share it once or twice more. You'll get this link. This page opens up. When you fill in your mobile number, if you are already registered, it automatically quickly fills your email ID. In case you're not registered, it will ask for one. And if you are not registered, now it sends you an OTP. Now this OTP goes to your mobile. It's come to mine. I'm going to fill in the OTP. I'm just doing this process for some of you. Sometimes we face a problem. This is what I've got on mail. Verify. And this is the feed that comes. Once you've filled in all your details, please make sure to fill in the feedback. Just click on the stars, however you feel, 3, 2, 4, whatever you felt. Any other suggestions may or may not, but you see, these are all asterisks marked. So this feedback is important. Clicking on the number of stars is important. I have my doubts that some teachers, maybe you skip this, and then when you click on submit, okay, I have to select my subject. Say English. Okay. Yes. The moment you get this screen, successfully registered this screen, this will automatically send your certificate to your email ID. Okay. So just follow these steps. Make sure you filled in all the columns. And for teachers who are attending this session from international numbers, I would like to once again show this for you. All the teachers, we've tried a method and we figured out one thing. I'm just going to try and do it. Just give me a sec.
Ma'am, after filling the form, also same window come again and again.
Which window?
From where the phone number and email ID shows.
So you fill this phone number and email ID, it does an OTP also. So
Yeah,
it takes you to the
everything.
next screen.
Next screen also, I have filled everything, but
Hmm.
again, the same feedback form opened.
So did you fill in those stars also?
Yes, I have filled the stars also.
Ravina
But
ma'am,
this
I'll
message
take
never
your.
come that successfully filled the form or
So
successfully.
let's do one thing. Just stay back after this session. I'll take your number and email ID and let's try and do it right here. So we'll be
Okay.
able to see the issue. So teachers who are connecting with the international number, UAE, I know, just fill in any number, here, any 10-digit number. Okay. So I filled in a 10-digit number. It is some teacher's number. I'll just fill it the other way. And you fill in an email ID here. Okay. When you fill in any email ID, let me put one of mine. Now the number doesn't exist. This will send an email ID, an OTP to your email ID. Fill in that OTP and it will take you to the next screen. Okay. So for teachers who are connecting with us from the international numbers, this is for them. I'm just getting in email ID. Okay, so just try it out this way. My net is giving up. Okay, no, I have it, sorry. 707. Okay, this is how it brings you. You don't have to fill in your original number, the international number. It may not take that, but it will send the OTP to your email and from there it will work. All right, I hope all of you kind of understood this. Nevertheless, if you still face a problem, I'm always there and I don't mind working with you individually and getting your certificates also. So not a problem at all. The feedback link has already been shared in the chat box. We'll share it on the group as well. So please fill it and I'm positive you'll automatically get your, with lesser number of cancellations, the lesser number of errors this time, all of you will get your certificates. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anuradha ma'am. Thank you so
I
much.
would like to interrupt once again.
Yes, ma'am.
We would like to have Anuradha ma'am teaching simple, complex and compound sentences.
Okay, I'll take
She's
that down.
wonderful, amazing. The way she simplifies the thing is something amazing.
Trust me, I fell in love with her the first session I attended.
And I have another request coming in,
Yes.
Himani ma'am and Anuradha ma'am. Auxiliaries, modal auxiliaries.
All right, I've noted that down also,
Okay.
modals and auxiliaries.
So do you think those of you who are here, I hope that you are there in the next time, but do you think I need to do clauses with you or clauses?
Certainly, ma'am, certainly clauses, certainly we really wish. And very like detailed, yes, to simplify for the children.
Okay, sure. All right. So do one thing, can you all get in touch with Himani and just tell where you all are having problems with clauses when you all are teaching? Okay.
Ma'am, as a teacher, we comprehend, but when we are teaching to the children, they are like after like noun clause, then adjective, then adverb. By the time we reach to adjective clause, everything gets messed up.
Correct. Yeah, that is
the main problem.
Okay.
I face difficulty with the SSC board basically because they have a topic where you have a phrase and you have to rewrite it as a clause. I am able to teach that, but the children are unable to comprehend that, how to reframe it.
Okay. So fine. Then in my next session, I will do about clauses. And if I get the time, how to change a phrase into a clause and vice versa.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anuradha ma'am. Thank you, everyone. How to contact you? Nidhi ma'am, if you're in the group, I hope you're in the group. If not, I'm sharing my number. Just drop me a WhatsApp there. I'm sharing my number on your personal screen. Just drop me a WhatsApp there. We'll get you added in the group. And from there, I'm Himani Mittal. You can get my number from there also. So you can drop me a message on my personal WhatsApp. And everybody, जिसको सर्टिफिकेट नहीं मिलता मुझे पर्सनल व्हाट्सएप कर दो, ग्रुप में इतने सारे आ जाते हैं, it becomes so challenging for me.
And Madhuban, I would like to appreciate Madhuban group for organizing session on a holidays, especially Makar Sankranti, 14th
I
February,
would like to
January.
appreciate all of you for coming.
Yeah, for
I
coming.
just
I know.
You know, I was on the terrace. I was on the terrace enjoying kite flying. I'm in Jaipur. So
I
just
wish
came
you
down
had
for
shared your video of that. Then that would have made it so much more interesting also,
I know.
rather than people seeing only my face, huh?
Achha, interesting. One more thing is that I got an idea just now when ma'am said that why learn phrases and clauses, and somebody mentioned to make your communication very effective and precise. And I feel one activity that all of you could do in there was get the students to write something for Twitter. See, Twitter is a very professional website and it has a word limit. Today, even I and a lot of my colleagues, we face a challenge on how to express ourselves perfectly in that word limit. So, this could be a very interesting activity where children learn online etiquette. They learn how to work on Twitter, because today, professionally, Twitter and LinkedIn are most important.
That's a wonderful way to connect with the kids also.
Yes, and you could have your own school's account on Twitter and get them, even your computer art integration, subject integration, everything comes. And you can do this as an activity that, okay, whatever you did an annual function, send a report with photographs on Twitter or for Facebook messages, create a message within the 30-word limit. Phrases and clauses, they have to use, and they love doing it.
So Himani, when are you becoming an English teacher? Huh?
I'm after phrases and clauses session, never. I could be a good activity teacher. I can think of so many activities every time I'm listening to you. So this Twitter thing just came to my mind because I actually struggle with it. I really struggle that within that time limit, word limit, how to express perfectly. And I think if students start doing it, by the time they reach our age and become professionals, they'll be perfect at it.
Yeah.
All right, teach. On this note, thank you so much. I've taken a lot of your time, but we had a good session on Makar Sankranti. We've got 14 days to try out our resolutions, which we did on 1st of January. And now we can review, revise, and revisit our resolutions and say we are Indians. Hamara naya saal ab shuru hai.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend. It's freezing cold in north. Whoever are in the west and the south, enjoy the heat.
Okay. May I leave?
Yes, sure, ma'am, sure.
Bye, everybody.